Sam from SK Coffee here, and I'm going to run you through an entire tasting of your Expand Your Horizons box set. So the whole idea here basically was to expose the fact that some coffees don't always fit super nicely into single categories. Imagine that. People are not monoliths, neither are coffees. Of course, we do a really good job of showcasing coffees that do fit into each category, but those categorical definitions are fairly liberal because what it means to be smooth might be different from one coffee to another. Of course, every coffee has its own perspective. But we had a coffee recently, and it's this Tulio Adarme micro lot. Single farmer, single variety Caturra from Nariño in Colombia. Now, what's really interesting is that this coffee, honest to God, shifted almost what category it was in. And just the other day we were cupping this, tasting this as a pour over actually, and even as it was cooling, it was changing these profiles. Wild stuff. So let's just dig right in, okay? So what we thought we would do is put that Tulio, that multiple category, next to a classically smooth and classically sweet. I kind of feel like these are sort of slightly opposite ends of the spectrum in a way, or they're very clear delineation between a smooth and a sweet. Some smooth can be sweeter, and some sweet can be smooth, but there's pretty clear delineations here. And I think you'll see this, or you'll taste this and experience this as you dive into your coffees. So we have coffee from Guatemala here, coffee from El Salvador, and we have that coffee from Colombia. That Guatemalan is in our smooth category, and this comes from the Colectivo Los Ancestros. We get this from our exporting partners, Caravella. Fantastic coffee. I actually visited a lot of several farmers that contribute to this Colectivo. El Salvador, this is our micro lot, also single farmer, single variety. Just also to shout out, this is an AA grade, which is a really high grade micro lot from that Los Ancestros. So while multiple farmers are contributing to this, it is a very high quality coffee. This El Salvadorian, back to this, is from our friend Juan Pablo Salguero from the farm Finca Los Guayabos. Okay, this is in our sweet category. If you haven't heard about this, you should check out the video that I made on Instagram. This is an amazing coffee. It's a single variety Pacamara. And then, of course, we have this Tulio Adarme microlot Caturra from Colombia. And as I stated, it has this kind of multi-categorical profile. So I've already ground these coffees just to kind of get right into it. So this is the dry aroma. And I might even write some stuff down here. So I encourage you to do the same. However you want to taste these, great. I'm going to taste them just for the sake of quick comparison in the cupping profile, cupping method. Now, if you don't know how to cup and you want to engage in this, I have a link somewhere up here to a great home cupping recipe video that I walk you through. It's very easy. Anybody can do this. All right, so I also encourage you to have a little notebook, and let's just start. I'm going to start saying stuff. Here we go. AA. Already, so this might be a subtle placebo effect for me, but here you go. This coffee comes from Huehuetenango, which is the highland region of Guatemala, and it often has a kind of praline aspect to it. And I'm getting that. A lot of fudge. Oh boy, this is a great coffee. Yeah, praline, fudge, nutty. You get a little bit of chocolatiness, but honestly, it's very, I know fudge is kind of tangentially chocolatey, I guess, but it's really that like nut aspect to it. creamy nut butters. Wow, but creamy nut butters. Wow, okay, great. I'm just gonna write down praline. You can do praline on the nose too if you want praline on the nose. El Salvadorian. Wow, my goodness. Just so floral. Let's write that. Floral here. Floral. Sweet, of course. I'm also getting some slight cinnamon on the nose, maybe. Maybe even some pineapple? I don't know. Let's write that down. Now, there's no judgment of what you smell. It's all about linking your senses to your memory, something that you've experienced sensorially in your life. What does this remind you of in that entire history, right? Whatever you want. It could be even a shape. It doesn't have to always be a flavor, a fruit or something, okay? There's no right or wrong answer here, okay? It's about trying to root yourself in the profile itself, okay? Just a comparison. Because coffee has its own flavor characteristics, but we're not quite to this point where it has its own language fully, like wine sometimes do. But even wine will have those flavor note comparisons, like peppery, red fruit, etc., right? Moving on, Tulio. Already just bright citrus, wow. Bright citrus, holy cow. I know this is on the bag, but bergamot. Bergamot. Lovely. All right, now we have done the dry aroma. We're gonna wet the grounds. We're gonna wait for 4 minutes, okay? So basically you just pour hot water around 200 and, I like to do about 203 degrees, but if you don't have any kind of kettle that regulates heat, just bring it up to boil and let it sit for a second. It's totally fine, okay? Again, watch that home tutorial for more info on this, but let's dive right in. Try not to make too much agitation. The grounds are going to get wet. So don't do too much swirling. I learned that from a friend out in Boston. She was like, Sam, you really got to stop twirling. And then she gave me a reason. I was like, that's a really good reason. By agitating it too much, you're gonna just make the ground sink a little bit too early, and we don't want that either. Okay, so that's going for about 4 minutes. And remember to have your 2 cleaning cups. Again, watch the tutorial if you want to learn more about what I'm doing. Okay, so we're about ready. I'm gonna turn my hat around and you'll see why. Because when we break the crust, and you'll see there's a little crust on the top, you really want to get your nose in there. So let's start this way again. Start with the Guatemalan AA. Here we go. Ooh, rich and fluffy. Rich and fluffy. I'm gonna just keep going. Oh, yes, that sweet florality is so present there too. My gosh. What's interesting, it's not always the case that each one of the sensory experiences, it's not always the case that profiles or characteristics flow through those, but in both these cases, that kind of did happen. Wow, I'm getting more like, on the Tulio, I'm getting more like caramel notes. Now this is interesting, it's exactly my point here. So I'm gonna write that stuff down now. You know, depending on how many cups there are, I like to just get a good idea of the wet aroma, is what this is called, because by the time, 4 minutes hits, you really want to break those quickly, okay? So I usually try and remember, and then I'll write. Now we clean these. these are all cleaned off on the top. We try and just get all that kind of crummy stuff out there. We set that cup aside. We have a nice clean, another clean cup. This is to wash the spoon in between. You only need 1 spoon for this, okay? Now, while we're kind of waiting for these to cool, let's just recap here. AA, we had some like praline nutty, right? The creamy nutty nut butters, right? For that AA Guatemala. On the break, we had some like rich fluffiness, and I'm gonna say this, like almost like that fluff. What is that stuff called? That like marshmallow fluff thing that you put on bread or whatever. Kind of has some aspects of that. The El Salvadorian floral, so much floral. A little cinnamon, a little pineapple on the nose, interestingly, on the dry aroma. On the wet aroma, we had some floral. Also, I added light and airy, okay? The Tulio, I had caramel. And maybe even, I'm gonna add a little marshmallow. It had a little bit of that like toasted marshmallow profile. Now, I like to taste at the height of heat that's bearable, right? Down to really cool. That's because folks tend to enjoy coffee really hot here in the Midwest. I'm not entirely sure why. I love coffee a little bit closer to body temperature. Too hot, you don't fully taste the coffee. But I do it for the sake, because I want coffee to taste good really hot as well as room temp. What do you say we give this a try? AA, we're starting with the Guatemala. Fantastic. That fudge is really coming through. Wow. What do y'all think? I mean, it's fudgy. There is some marshmallow around there. Really is almost like s'mores, really. Wow. I'm gonna write s'mores. Super fudge. Wow. Now I'm starting to get that like nice American milk chocolate. We're not talking fancy, you know, Swiss chocolate or anything, but like Hershey's, right? Fanciest, maybe Cadbury, but not Cadbury from England. My British wife would not like me saying that the American Cadbury eggs are any better than the British Cadbury chocolates. Moving on to the El Salvadorian. Folks, this coffee is fantastic. I'm also getting like a little bit of cherry, like cherry Jolly Ranchers, hard candies. But wow, it's so floral. Good Lord. Maybe some like hibiscus. That El Sal is great. Again, you're getting these in this awesome box set, but you can still get all of these separately. But I think all of them will be exclusive to the coffee bar at the beginning, okay? Moving on to the Tulio. Here we go. This is gonna be fun. Mouth-watering. At this moment, it's very citrusy, mouth-wateringly so. Wow, like almost sour, like almost puckers your lips. Mouth-water. I think there's probably a real definition for that or a real word for that, but I don't know what it is. has that kind of, the bergamot feel. Bergamot seems to be used, or at least I'm seeing it used a lot in like healthcare, kind of you know, oils, tinctures that you can put on your temples or something. It has that kind of vibe, like really dense bergamot. Let's work our way through again. This is widening up a bit. Ooh, stroopwafel. It's been a while, but I'm tasting stroopwafel here. That's lovely. So that kind of caramel, like that one had earlier, that kind of rich caramel, but almost cinnamony. And that's just sweetening up, sweetening up. It almost has, this is really interesting, but bear with me, like almost has the feel of soy sauce. You know, that really light and effervescent feeling. It has that. One more time. I say Jolly Rancher because, you know, hard candies just make your mouth water. It's really lovely. It's kind of doing the same thing there that the Tulio's got. So already, what I'm saying is that Tulio already has two characteristics, that like caramel, nutty, let me see, toasted marshmallow, but citrus, which you get a lot in these sweeter coffees, sometimes in bold coffees as well, a little bit of a bite, a sourness, a front edge, but also, yeah, that mouth-watering aspect that the El Salvadorian is also presenting. But here we go. Now that it's cooling, let's see what happens. The rootedness is coming now as it cools. Almost like sweet cedar, I'll say. Sweet cedar. Wow, very cool. Woody in a good way. Now, again, as this is cooling, I've just described how this is kind of falling and grabbing characteristics as it's falling in temperature. It is also falling into several categories, okay? When that dry aroma came on, it had that kind of like toasted marshmallow caramel, really rich kind of bold flavors, right? Then the wet aroma had similar caramel, a little bit of toasted marshmallow, as we've said, right? So it's maintaining that. Then we tasted it, citrus, right? Again, bold flavors, almost unique flavors of that kind of bright fruit acidity. And as it's cooling, you know, we're also getting some of these smooth, rich notes too, okay, that you might find here in the smooth category, right? So bold, sweet, smooth, unique, it's falling in all of these. And look, this doesn't necessarily mean that this is the best coffee out there. It's not about that, okay? It's just about it being this kind of shape-shifting, like fun, multi-categorical coffee, okay? We have amazing, super expensive high-end coffees that really just fit in one area, like they're super floral or really winey because they're a specific type of fermentation, or those experimental fermentations where it's, you know, cinnamon naturals, right? There's a very specific profile, okay? It's not necessarily grabbing everything all in one as it's cooling. But quality and characteristics are different, okay? We use our characteristics to kind of help guide folks into influential experiences. And in many cases also challenge you to try something new. You know, you typically like milk chocolate notes or nutty notes, but we've got a smooth that has praline or, you know, marzipan or something that you might not, or almond butter, right? Something that you don't eat, okay? But we're helping you we're bringing you there too. But opening that up, there's a real freedom in guiding and finding directions, right, for that flavor experience. And every once in a while, you get a really interesting coffee that can exemplify itself in all the different categories. I hope you enjoyed this 3 coffee box set, the Expand Your Horizons box set. Tasting coffee side by side can be a really fun thing. As always, please do not hesitate to email me. I'm sam@skcoffee.org. I will answer your email. And if you have any questions about coffee or want to try and get into the shop and maybe try some coffees with me, please don't hesitate to ask. Until then, happy coffee drinking and hope you enjoy these.